Hi there, Alexander. My name is Ellen. I'll be doing this essay correction for you. It's nice to see that you're on the course and that you've begun writing your essays. So let's get right into this, see what you wrote. The first essay is about schools being more entertaining. So let's see what you said. These days, there are a lot of discussions about the education system. Experts from one site, I think you mean side, experts from one side suppose, without the comma, that modern schools should be more entertaining, while you need some sort of a linker here that shows contrast. Others follow conservative ideas and strongly believe that the main purpose is to educate. This essay will discuss both sides. Okay, so other than those little grammar mistakes, the introduction is fine, but there's one sizable problem with it. Let's talk about what that is. The essay asks, which do you agree with? Okay, so you haven't answered that. It's really important to answer the question in your introduction because at Band 7 under Task Achievement, the band descriptors tell us that in order to be considered for a Band 7, you need to have a clear position throughout your response. When you do this, just telling us that you're going to discuss both sides, we don't have a clear response. In fact, we probably won't know what your position is until the conclusion. So the best thing to do here is to answer the question. Whatever the question is, answer it in your introduction. So, and there are a lot of ways you can answer it, but the best way, the right way to answer it is to essentially summarize what you're saying here. Okay, so let's read actually what you wrote in your body paragraphs, and then we'll determine what an appropriate topic, a thesis sentence here would have been. This is usually called your thesis sentence. Okay, so let's see what you said. According to recent studies by Russian universities, children who have more leisure activity during the learning process, I would have gotten rid of whole, during the learning process, as a result have higher scores in their final tests. It's not just one test, it's usually multiple tests. The result of their research was analyzed, and some private schools in my country follow the ideas that students need more fun and less homework. Moreover, the education system in Finland, which is one of the best in the world, supports, there should be an S here because it's the system, supports the approach that pupils do not, two words because we don't write contractions in IELTS, do not need to have homework. Instead of classical tasks, children have personal long-term projects. Okay, now I'm glad that you highlighted this, okay? Schools have to be more entertaining. So you talk about leisure activity, you say they do better, you said they need more fun, and then you talked about not having homework. You're mostly on topic here. I don't know necessarily that this thing about homework was appropriate. We're talking about entertainment. So what does entertainment mean? It means fun. It means amusement. It means enjoyment. It means like kind of light-hearted sort of atmosphere. So that's what it means to if something is entertaining. So did you actually describe a school that is entertaining? Well, you talked about more leisure activities. Leisure could be entertaining, but not necessarily. I mean, if your leisure activity is something that requires a lot of focus and a lot of hard work or something, or concentration, like reading a book, that's very serious. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's entertaining, even though it is a leisure activity, right? So this is one of the ways where IELTS is testing your vocabulary to make sure that you understand and can appropriately interpret the word entertaining. Okay? Let's see. Here you said they need more fun and less homework. Now, again, we're talking about school itself, so I don't know how appropriate it is to mention this idea of homework, which is, as the name implies, done at home. So we're really concerned about the school environment itself. So that's where my concern was with this. But on the whole, I think it's good. Now, because it is your first essay, I really want to give you as much information as possible so that you understand what sorts of considerations you have to make when developing your essays. Okay? So That's why I say that on the whole it's good, but I want to kind of deal with all these issues of task achievement from the beginning so that you can understand how you can progress most quickly along the course, okay? So let's move on. On the other side, comma, people who support classical education, no. On the other side, comma, people who support classical education believe, so none of those commas here, no comma here, here, or here. Now, not only that, but we don't say in English on the other side. What we say is on the one hand, and then the other paragraph we say on the other hand. But since you didn't say on the one hand, you can't say on the other hand. You have to have both of them to do this. So if you were looking for an expression that shows some sort of contrast, there are tons of other ones you could have used here. So you could have said in contrast, or that being said, or that said, or having said that. So all of these would have done a nice job of showing that you're now changing sides. Okay, so let's move on. So, that said, people who support classical education believe that homework and a strict schedule help the youth in their future life. Regular tasks and school rules, without the apostrophe S, are the first step for adult life. In addition, the more lessons students learn in the school, the more intelligent they will be. For example, if a pupil does not have biology in school, get rid of the, how will he be a biologist? According to this idea, the experts support the strategy, no comma, that there should be more traditional subjects and less entertaining because the school's time is limited. Okay, help in the future life, regular tasks and rules. All right, now some of these ideas, I think you should have developed them a little bit more, like this. You said that school rules and tasks are the first step for adult life. So this, I think, needed to be explained. What do you mean? Okay, you really just needed to develop it with one additional sentence. Something like, adults find that every day in their life they must follow orders, they must follow directions, and also must be tested, as it were, every day. Therefore, they need to have an education that prepares them for this type of life. Okay, something like that was what you needed here. Okay, and then here you developed this one. That was okay. And then it was fine. Okay, so again, no contractions. As far as I am concerned, comma, the process of education has, it's one thing, process has to be balanced. The youth must have some basic lessons and homework, but at the same time, they should have an opportunity to choose with a double O what they want to learn. In my opinion, if children have a lot of pressure and do not have freedom, no A, they will not be motivated. But without motivation, it is impossible to be a good student. Okay, so now I understand why you said you were going to discuss both sides. I still believe that you needed to address that in your introduction. So all you really had to say here was, in my opinion, both elements need to be included in equal measure in the school, and this essay will discuss both sides to prove my point with examples and arguments. Okay, so something like that would have been appropriate here. Now, that's a lot of information about your first essay. So now I want to go on to your second one, which is about developing skills and creativity. Let's see what you said here. A modern approach in upbringing claims, no comma, that doing an activity with fun can have more benefits than reading. In contrast, some experts disagree with this and they support that reading is a basic feature for education. This essay will discuss both sides. Okay, again, you don't want to do this because it's a to what extent do you agree or disagree. So you can do a ton of things here for this. You can say that you 100% agree, 100% disagree, or agree, I don't know, like 60-40 or 70-30 or something. Okay, but you do have to make a choice here. All right, let's move on. If we are talking about children who are younger than 10 years old, I strongly believe that education must be a part of game. Okay, I don't understand that. Education must be like a game. Education must be provided through games. Maybe this is what you mean. A game and fun are basic activities which motivate the youth to discover the world. Therefore, if children, because kids is a really informal word, we don't use it. If children think that a lesson is fun, they will consider it as a leisure activity and learn better. This fact is proven by many, by many studies. Research is uncountable. Moreover, enjoyable free time, such as or how about this? Enjoyable free time activities, even better, such as hiking or football, could be a trigger to read more about this topic. All right, now here's the problem here. This is talking about skills and creativity, and I didn't see anything about skills here. Okay, so the development of this was not entirely appropriate. You're supposed to talk about activities that help develop skills. Okay, so you could have said that hiking, outdoor activities develop skills, like hiking, for example. Hiking can help develop a child's sense of direction, a child's stamina, perhaps teamwork because they hike as part of a group. Okay, so these are skills. This is something you could have talked about. And then football, you could have said, like, I don't know, gross motor skills, again, teamwork, leadership, for example, if, you're in a core position on the team. So these are skills, and this is what you need to talk about here. This was a little too vague and a little too general and not really focusing on what they're asking you here, okay? Okay. Nevertheless, the older a student is, the more he needs to read. Nice grammar there. Good. Almost each homework in a school includes a reading part. Unfortunately, the youth have to follow this approach, but it is an important part of studying. In addition, why do you say unfortunately? That's a little strange. So that might have been something you could have developed. In addition, reading is the basic skill for self-education. Although nowadays we can find a lot of useful content on YouTube, we have to read books to learn. Especially for some specific subjects, reading is only one way to get information. According to my experience in the engineering field, only books and specific regulation documents contain knowledge which I need. Okay, again, you're not talking about skill development. I kind of feel, Alexander, like you're answering a different essay question. Like, some people think kids need fun activities. Other people think kids need to read. Which do you agree with? Okay, but that's not what the question has asked you. They've asked you something far more specific. They're telling you that a child can develop better skills and creativity if they do a fun activity, more so than if they just read. Okay, this is what you have to agree with or disagree with. Okay, so now let's read your conclusion, then I'll tell you another thing that I saw here. As far as I am concerned, in the first years, children need more activities which bring them fun. It is really important, no comma, it is really important to explain to children that the learning process is interesting. If the young associate education and reading with stress and boredom, they will not be motivated. However, because we don't start sentences with but, without motivation, it is impossible to be a good student. Okay, fine. Grammar, but fine. Now, let me tell you the other problem here. Let's look at this again. Better skills, which you already talked about, and creativity. You didn't mention creativity here at all. Now, why is this important? Because you're not going to get a very high score for task achievement when you neglect this thing about creativity. Now, they had better skills here, and they actually took out from better skills creativity, which means that they want you to spend a considerable amount of time developing this. Okay? So, like I said, there are a lot of ways you could have done this. You could have spent, for example, since you wanted to talk about both, you could have spent a paragraph talking about reading and saying how reading develops vocabulary, reading develops, comprehension skills, and then you could have also said reading develops creativity because it has been found that authors, successful authors as children were found to have read 4 times as much as children who, did not become authors or something. So it really helps create creativity. Okay, so that's what you could have said here. And then in the next paragraph, you could have talked about skills that are developed in other words, skills and creativity that are developed from other activities, not reading. Okay, so you could have mentioned a sport. You could have mentioned drawing. You could have mentioned singing. You could have mentioned theater. So these things that develop creativity and some other skill. All right, whether it's hand-eye coordination, whether it's fine motor skills, whether it's whatever. I mean, there are tons of things you could have done. All right, so that's how you needed to develop this if you kind of wanted to be this sort of half and half thing. Okay. So that's pretty much it about this set of essays. Careful with your grammar, careful with your punctuation, lots of commas. I want you to try to reduce the number of commas you're using because they're not being used correctly. So be careful with that. And that's mostly it for now. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to correct these essays based on this video correction. Okay. And then I also want you to create an error correction list where you write down the mistakes and then next to each mistake the correct version. And just add to that list with each essay correction you get back from us so that you can learn from the mistakes that you've been making. And the third thing you need to do is, of course, write us a new set of essays, applying everything you've been learning both in the course and through these video corrections, okay? So send us back all 3 things. Try to do it within the next day or so you can really keep up your momentum. And I'll be here. I'll be waiting. If you have any questions about this feedback, do let me know in your email. All right, so good job with your first set, and I can't wait to see more from you. Good luck.